incredibly important legal hurdle. Then we're going to spend a few minutes talking about what happens when all the things we're supposed to do to take care of ourselves become yet another fucking checklist of things we're failing to accomplish. And then, my darling friends and witchlings, my loves, we're talking military installations. We're going to talk about the people whose names we choose to put on them. We're going to talk about Lindsey Graham. May his memory be forgotten, or may his memory ever be a curse. And we're talking about some absolutely fucking extraordinary female veterans. And I learned some things while researching this story. I really did. Some of them genuinely changed my initial reaction, and others just made me considerably fucking angrier. Because, witchlings, Veteran Die has entered the chat tonight. So, go grab your coffee, your tea, your emotional support doctor, and settle the fuck in, because we got some shit to talk about tonight. All right. So, what if the product is the problem? Let's figure this one out. So, let's start here with social media. And yes, I recognize the absolute absurdity and cognitive dissonance and the oxymoronity of discussing the potential harms of social media while live streaming on social media. Trust me, I get that one. Welcome to modern fucking life. All right. Good. Happy fucking joy. This week, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals allowed more than 3,000 lawsuits against major social media companies to continue. I'm going to repeat that number because it's kind of impressive. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals allowed more than 3,000 lawsuits to continue. The defendants in said lawsuits include Meta, Google, TikTok, and Snap. The plaintiffs allege that these companies intentionally designed aspects of their platforms to be addictive to young users, contributing to mental health harms, including anxiety and depression. And before we go any further, I want to reiterate these are allegations. The court allowing these cases to proceed does not mean the plaintiffs have won. It does not mean the allegations have been proven. It does not mean these companies have been found liable in these particular cases. That distinction fucking matters here. It just says that these cases are allowed to proceed instead of being dismissed offhand. Right, good. Now, the question underneath these lawsuits matters as well, because these cases aren't just asking what happens when somebody posts something harmful on the internet. They are asking about aspects of the products themselves. And that raises a much bigger question. At what point does product design become part of the conversation about responsibility? Because whenever we talk about our relationship with social media, the advice tends to be almost entirely focused on individual behavior. You know, limit your screen time, turn off notifications, delete the app, put your phone in another room. Parents, you need to be monitoring your children. Kids need to get the fuck off their phones. Adults need more discipline. Go outside, touch grass. Yeah, okay, and sure, those things can all help. Personal responsibility exists and parents have responsibilities. Boundaries definitely matter. Learning when and how to disengage from technology matters. But, and this is a big ass but, however, if a company deliberately designs a product around capturing and retaining human attention, and then somebody has difficulty disengaging from said product, we cannot have an intellectually honest conversation about responsibility while pretending the design doesn't fucking exist. Because your attention has value. The longer you're there, the more content you consume. The more content you consume, the more opportunities there are to show you advertising. The more you interact, the more information the platform has about what keeps you there. So if keeping me engaged is part of your business model, and you have entire teams of very smart people figuring out how to keep me engaged, you do not get to completely remove yourself from the conversation when I struggle to disengage. That does not mean that I have no responsibility, though. It means more than one fucking thing can be true at the same God's be damned time. And that leads beautifully into a topic that was originally meant to be tonight's main rant. Because we're living inside systems constantly competing for our time, attention, and energy. And then when we're exhausted, we're told, you need to get better at taking care of yourself. Which leads me to, wellness should not be another fucking job. Unless, like me, you decide to go into the wellness industry. But that's beside the point. Because when the fuck did wellness become a second career? Seriously, y'all, when? Because apparently now being a healthy person, TM, now requires project management software. First, you're supposed to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and right there, you have already lost me. We have discussed the 5 a.m. club at least once. I will not be attending, thank you very much. However, if 5 in the morning makes you happy, fan-fucking-tabulous. Go enjoy your sunrise. I will see you later, but, apparently I'm supposed to wake up at 5 a.m., meditate, journal, write down 3 things I'm grateful for, exercise, stretch, practice yoga. Those 3 things are actually the same thing there. Do some breath work, drink enough water. Go fuck yourself. I'll stick with my soda. Eat enough protein, get enough fiber, take my vitamins, walk 10,000 steps, meal prep for the entire week, track my sleep, optimize my sleep, get 8 hours of sleep despite apparently waking up before the fucking birds, regulate my nervous system, spend some time outside while limiting my screen time, maintain meaningful relationships, keep my environment clean, have hobbies, read books, practice mindfulness, and presumably have a fucking job in there somewhere because despite repeated attempts, my mortgage company continues to refuse to accept good vibes as payment. Now here's the thing, y'all. Most of those things are not bad. I fucking teach yoga. We're spending an entire month exploring pranayama, breathing, by the way, for those of you unfamiliar with the term. I am certainly not going to tell you that movement, rest, nourishing food, breath work, mindfulness, community, and sleep don't matter. Because of course they matter. The problem isn't the tools. The problem is what we've done with them. Because somewhere along the way, taking care of ourselves stopped being something that supports our lives and became another standard against which we measure whether we're performing life correctly. Now, you're not just tired. You're failing at being tired correctly. Your sleep score sucked. You didn't get your steps. You forgot to meditate. You didn't meal prep. Your nervous system isn't regulated. You haven't journaled. Your morning routine is inconsistent. You didn't drink enough water. You didn't do your breath work, and you still haven't joined the 5 a.m. club. Have you considered that perhaps your unwillingness to wake up at 5 fucking a.m. is why you're not a millionaire yet? Fuck that shit. No. Sometimes you're just fucking tired. Sometimes life is difficult. Sometimes your circumstances are exhausting. Sometimes you're doing everything reasonably available to you. And sometimes the last fucking thing you need is yet another task on your God's be damned list to tick off. Care should make your life more livable. Your yoga practice should serve your life. Your spiritual practice should serve your life. Your breath work should serve your life. And your self-care should serve your life. You should not have to serve your fucking wellness routine. Now, if someone's version of wellness consistently leaves you feeling guilty, inadequate, behind, exhausted, or convinced that you need to purchase 12 more fucking things before you're finally doing well-being correctly, I want you to ask yourself one thing. Who is this version of wellness actually serving? Because you are a person, not a self-improvement project. And that was going to be tonight's main rant. It really and truly was. I had a great rant written up for it. And then I read the news. And oh my goddess, Witchlings. Buckle in, because here we fucking go. First, though, we got to do some shameless self-promotion here, because this witch, as I said, I got a mortgage to pay. Hey guys, let's take a second here before I really get into my rant for tonight and we step into dietheyogawitch.shop. This is where magic meets movement and your growth is supported on and off the mat. This here is a space for transformation where yoga and life coaching come together to help you move forward with clarity, confidence, and purpose at a pace your nervous system might actually be able to sustain. Now, alongside your practice, you will find some handmade intention-infused jewelry and some really fun Die the Yoga Witch merch like coffee mugs, t-shirts, hoodies, and more. Yes, we included some things for our furry familiars, so we can all carry a little bit of magic with us each and every day. Tarot and oracle readings are available when you're seeking insight, and there are a limited number of local services offered for those here in the Puget Sound region, but the heart of this space is supporting your daily practice, your growth, and your connection to yourself. If something in your life is asking for deeper intention, shifting, or growing, please take this as your sign and come explore what we can create together at dietheyogawitch.shop. If you're getting a kick out of tonight's rant and feel called to become part of our little coven here, please feel free to tap that join button and become a channel member. There are some really fun perks waiting for all of my witchlings, and membership levels start at just $1 a month. How affordable is that, y'all? Having said that, I do understand that budgets are tight for a lot of us right now, so here's a quick reminder that you can also support this channel for free by subscribing and sharing this video with a friend so we can grow our community. You can also find all of the ways to support me right here on my link tree above my head or in the description box down below. I appreciate you guys so very much. Thank you for your support. Thank you for tuning in. Let's get back to that rant, shall we? All right. All right. Nope. All right. Now, I was doing some research because, okay, Sunday nights, I pick out my current events that I'm going to cover on Tuesday, and that's how I do this. Now, normally I have a topic of the week that we discuss, and I just talk about a couple of current events, but one of our current events this week pissed me off so fucking much. I saw the story about Joint Base Charleston being renamed for the late Senator Lindsey Graham, and my immediate reaction was, what in the cinnamon toast fuck are they doing? Why the fuck are we naming a whole-ass joint military base after Lindsey fucking Graham? And then I did something I strongly recommend everybody do before becoming completely committed to being pissed off. I actually did some research, and I looked shit up, and I learned something. Because here's something I'm not sure if I didn't know or just didn't remember. Lindsey Graham was a veteran. Not only was he a veteran, he wasn't just somebody who did a quick little in and out. No. This is a man who had a military career spanning more than 3 decades. He was active duty in the Air Force and continued his service through the Air National Guard and the Air Force Reserve. He was a fucking JAG officer, and he retired as a colonel. He also received the Bronze Star for meritorious service. So I'm going to stop right here because I am a veteran, and I did not know that. Whatever I may think about Lindsey Graham, the politician, Lindsey Graham, the veteran, had a significant military career. The Bronze Star is not handed out like fucking peanuts. It's a significant military honor. Colonel, definitely a significant rank. More than 3 decades of service definitely matters. So I am not about to diminish his service, sir. service because I disagreed with the man's politics. He served honorably, and I learned something I did not know about him. And that new information changed a big part of my understanding of this story. And gee, that's how learning shit is supposed to work, right? Yes. But it only answered my first question because now I had another one. Why the fuck? Or I still had this one. Why the fuck are we naming an entire joint military installation after him? Joint military installation. I wouldn't have been so pissed off if it were just an airbase. Anyways, these are two separate, completely different questions. Was Lindsey Graham a veteran with a significant military career? Yes, he was. Does that automatically mean his military career was so historically significant that generations of American service members should work in an installation bearing his name? I don't know. Do not know. So, does that, because military installations aren't fucking memorial benches, y'all. We're not talking about just putting a plaque up with his name on it. We're not talking about naming a conference room after him. We're talking about an entire fucking base. People are going to receive orders there. Families will live there. Service members will deploy to and from there. Official military records will carry that name. Potentially generations of military families will associate that name with the institution itself. So, putting someone's name on a military installation is a choice about who belongs in the institutional memory of the United States Armed Forces. Which means I have a very, very, very simple fucking question. What is the fucking standard here? Is it longevity? Is it rank, decorations, combat service, heroism, leadership, historical significance, maybe transformational contributions to the military? Because if Lindsey Graham's military record meets that threshold, fan-fucking-tabulous. I have nominations. And Witchlings. Do y'all know how difficult it was for me as a woman veteran to find women with extraordinary military careers? 90 fucking seconds. One Google search. I didn't spend hours digging through military archives. I didn't call a historian. I didn't desperately search American history hoping to find one woman whose military resume might conceivably qualify. One fucking Google search gave me names. Deborah Sampson, Sarah Emma Edmonds, Mary E. Clark, Edith Norse Rogers, Elsie S. Ott, Cathay Williams, Lori Lori Piestewa, Ruby Bradley, Charity Adams Early, Harriet Tubman. And that's not even an exhaustive list. That's just where I stopped fucking looking. And we already had 2 other nominees that are still living. How about Lieutenant Colonel Tammy Duckworth, Army Black Hawk helicopter pirate, Iraq War combat veteran, Purple Heart recipient. Her chopper was struck by a rocket-propelled grenade. She lost both legs and partial use of her right arm. And then the bitch kept serving, eventually retiring from the Illinois Army National Guard as a lieutenant colonel. You want to name Army installations after distinguished veterans? Let's start with Tammy Duckworth. Or, I've met this one. How about Captain Daniella Mestyanek Young, West Point graduate, Army intelligence officer, 2 deployments to Afghanistan with the 101st Airborne Division, also known as the Band of Brothers, and one of the women who helped pioneer putting female soldiers alongside traditionally all-male combat units. I buried it, dumbass. In Uncultured, her book. Highly recommend picking it up, by the way. In Uncultured, Daniella tells the story of a patrol in Afghanistan where the team already knew something wasn't right. Their explosive device technicians were picking up something kind of suspicious, and Daniella noticed another warning sign. There were no children anywhere in the village. That mattered. She'd briefed troops about the absence of children as a potential indicator in her work as an intelligence officer. She spoke up. It became, in her words, the last piece of the puzzle, and about 20 minutes later, the explosive device technicians confirmed a bomb roughly 100 yards ahead of them. That's the gist of the story. You gotta read the book to get the whole thing. I will be linking her reading that chapter. If it's not in the description box, it will be in the social medias. Now, a highly trained team had already spotted signs of danger. Daniella brought one more piece of information to the table, one that helped complete the picture. That's what different perspectives bring to a fucking team. And Daniella received the Presidential Volunteer Service Award and was recognized for that service by President Barack Obama. Again, if you want to hear her whole story, I seriously recommend checking out both her YouTube channels, She's Knitting Cult Lady, or ordering a copy of her books. Yes, books, plural, from knittingcultlady.com. So, how about Joint Base Daniella Mestyanek Young? Because apparently, distinguished military careers are what we're honoring. And then, my witchlings, I discovered Colonel Ruby Bradley, and holy fucking shit. Ruby Bradley entered the Army Nurse Corps in the 1930s. She was serving in the Philippines when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. Weeks later, she was captured. Ruby Bradley then became a prisoner of war. Now, while in prison, she kept being a fucking nurse. She cared for her fellow prisoners. She helped feed starving children, sometimes going hungry herself. As she lost weight, she used the extra room inside her clothing to smuggle surgical equipment. She assisted in hundreds of operations. She helped deliver babies. And when American forces finally liberated the camp, this woman, Ruby Bradley, weighed a whopping 86 pounds. And then, apparently, she looked at all of that and went, yeah, I'm not fucking done yet, because then she stayed in the Army. Then came Korea. During the Chinese counteroffensive, Bradley was chief nurse of an evacuation hospital. When it became necessary to evacuate, this woman refused to leave until the sick and wounded had been loaded into an aircraft. She finally boarded. Enemy fire destroyed the ambulance she was in shortly afterward. She later became chief nurse for the 8th Army, supervising hundreds of Army nurses. Eventually, Colonel Ruby Bradley. Now let's talk decorations, because this is where her resume becomes fucking absurd. Now, the Army's own history lists Bradley as receiving the Legion of Merit with 2 oak leaf clusters. We'll get to what the oak leaf clusters mean in a minute. Bronze Star Medal with 1 oak leaf cluster. Army Commendation Medal with 1 oak leaf cluster, along with numerous campaign and service awards. Now, witchlings, if y'all don't speak military ribbon rack, let me translate this to you. A bronze oak leaf cluster represents a second or subsequent award of that decoration. So, Ruby Bradley didn't receive 1 Legion of Merit. She did not receive 2 Legion of Merit awards. She received 3. She did not receive 1 Bronze Star. She received 2. She received the Army Commendation Medal more than once. World War II Prisoner of War, Korean War Veteran Army Nurse Colonel. 3 Legions of Merit, 2 Bronze Stars, one of the most decorated women in United States military history. And I'm sitting here going, where the fuck is Fort Ruby Bradley? And then, Goddess help me, because once I thought of this, I couldn't unthink it. Goddess, please forgive me for this one. Maybe being a prisoner of war doesn't exactly improve her resume with the current draft dodger-in-chief, because the fascist Cheeto gave us his opinion about POWs years ago when he was talking about Senator John McCain. McCain spent more than 5 years as a prisoner of war in North Vietnam, and Cheeto Fingers said, I like people that weren't captured. Well, Captain Bonespurs has spoken, hasn't he? Apparently, surviving years of captivity doesn't make the cut. And this isn't the only time the SOB has spoken about military suffering in a way I find fucking repulsive. In 2016, when he was asked about PTSD, TBI, veteran, and mental health care, he contrasted people who come home from war and are strong and can handle it with people who can't handle it. There are the separately reported comments that he referred to American war dead as losers and suckers. Now, he has denied making those remarks, and that should be said. However, pause. Former White House Chief of Staff and retired Marine General John Kelly later went on the record describing Cheeto Finger's attitude towards people wounded, captured, or killed in service in strikingly similar terms. So those are separate incidents, and I'm not going to mash them together just because they fit the same fucking pattern. But taken all together, I've got some serious questions about what our draft dodger-in-chief believes military strength actually looks like. Because Ruby Bradley was captured, John McCain was captured, Tammy Duckworth was grievously wounded. Millions of American veterans come home carrying wounds you cannot see. I am one of them. And none of that makes any of them fucking weak. So, perhaps, Ruby Bradley represents the wrong definition of military strength for this administration. Because apparently, being captured by the Japanese, surviving years of imprisonment, treating your fellow prisoners while you yourself were starving, returning to service, going into another fucking war, refusing to evacuate until your patients were safe, rising to colonel, earning 3 Legions of Merit, 2 Bronze Stars, ain't quite enough. Again. Where the fuck is Fort Ruby Bradley? And let me say this one more time because somebody is going to deliberately misunderstand me otherwise. I am not in any way, shape, form, or fashion diminishing Lindsey Graham's service. His Bronze Star matters, his rank matters, and his decades of military service matter immensely. But you just told me his military resume warrants naming an entire joint military installation after him. Okay. Then explain Ruby Bradley to me. Explain Tammy Duckworth. Explain Daniella Mestyanek Young. Explain Major General Mary E. Clark, 36 years in the Army, private to Major General, Berlin Airlift, final fucking director of the Women's Army Corps, first woman in the Army to reach Major General, first woman to command a major United States Army installation. She commanded a base. The woman literally commanded a fucking base. But apparently naming one after her was too fucking much. Explain Charity Adams Early. First black woman Army, first black female Army officer. Commander of the only black woman's Air Corps unit sent overseas during World War II. Her unit processed an enormous backlog of mail for American service members in Europe and completed its assignment 3 fucking months ahead of schedule. Explain Lori Piestawa, Hopi, Army soldier, mother, first woman in the United States Armed Forces killed in the Iraq War, first Native American woman serving in the armed forces to die in combat. Explain Harriet fucking Tubman. We name schools after her. We name libraries after her. We name all kinds of places after her. Why not a base? Because here, Army Scout, spy, military intelligence led an armed Civil War operation that helped free hundreds of enslaved people. And then we get to the part where my blood pressure really starts climbing, and it's a good thing it tends to run low. Because for years, there were 0 Army installations named for women. That finally changed. Fort A.P. Hill became Fort Walker, honoring Dr. Mary Edwards Walker, Civil War surgeon, prisoner of war, women's rights advocate, and pay fucking attention to this part, because this is the important one, the only woman ever awarded the fucking Medal of Honor. Finally, one Army installation named solely for a woman. And then, last year, they renamed it again for a man. So, here we are, talking about putting Lindsey Graham's name on Joint Base Charleston, while the only fucking female Medal of Honor recipient in American history no longer has an Army installation named solely for her. Are you fucking kidding me? If we're using decorations as our standard, Great! Let's fucking compare decorations, bitch! Lindsey Graham, Bronze Star for Meritorious Service. Again, significant. I am not putting that down in any way, shape, or form. However, Mary Edwards Walker, Medal of Honor. Ruby Bradley, 3 Legions of Merit. 2 Bronze Star, Prisoner of War, 2 Wars Colonel. So, I'm going to ask one more time. What is the fucking standard here? Is it extraordinary heroism? Fine. Historic military significance? Fine. Combat service? Groovy. Decorations? Okay. Leadership? All right. Longevity? All right. Transformational contributions to the armed forces? Groovy. Pick one. Pick several. Develop a fucking rubric, but whatever standard we use, apply the fucking thing consistently. Because I found more than a dozen women with extraordinary military histories in approximately 90 fucking seconds. I didn't run out of women. I ran out of fucking airtime because I could keep going for hours about this. And if you're listening to this list and you're rage typing in the comments looking for reasons why these women don't count, why Tammy Duckworth isn't quite right, or why Daniella Mestyanek Young isn't qualified enough, or why Ruby Bradley somehow doesn't meet the threshold, or Mary Clark isn't significant enough, or Harriet Tubman's service was too unconventional, why the only female Medal of Honor recipient in American history wasn't worthy of keeping her own fucking installation, then I want you to notice something. If you were perfectly comfortable accepting Lindsey Graham's name on an entire base, why did your standard suddenly change? And no, disagreeing with one of my nominations does not automatically make somebody sexist. That is not what I'm saying. I'm simply asking you to examine your criteria. Because if you're already getting pissed off and rage typing in the comments because I suggested female veterans' names, women with distinguished, historic, decorated military careers, congratulations, you may have just discovered that this wasn't actually about honoring military service. Military installations, once again, are not fucking memorial benches. Their names tell us something. They tell us who we choose to remember, who we choose to honor, who we believe represents the institution. And sometimes they tell us who we've been perfectly comfortable forgetting. If we're going to name military installations for American veterans, fine. I'm a veteran. Let's have that fucking conversation. But we're going to talk about all of them. Now, who made the rule? Strangely enough, my witchlings, all 3 things we've talked about tonight come back to essentially the same question. Who made the rules? Social media platforms compete aggressively for our attention. Then we talk almost exclusively about whether individuals have enough self-control to put the phone down. Wellness culture gives us an ever-growing list of behaviors we're supposed to optimize, and then when we're exhausted trying to accomplish all of them, we're told we need to get better at managing our stress. Institutions decide whose names deserve to be attached to military installations, and eventually those names simply become part of the landscape. That's just how social media works. That's just what you have to do to be healthy, or that's just who the base is named after. No. Systems are made out of choices. Algorithms are designed, standards created, priorities chosen, and names are selected. And when those choices have existed long enough, we stop seeing the choice. We start seeing inevitability. Which is why one of the most useful fucking questions we can ever ask is why. Why does it work this way? Who decided? Who benefits? Who gets left out? What evidence supports this? And what happens if we do something differently? That doesn't mean every system is malicious. I'm going to say that. It doesn't mean every corporation is sitting around a conference table twirling its fucking mustache like a cartoon villain. And it doesn't mean individual responsibility disappears. More than one thing can be true. I can take responsibility for how I use social media and ask whether social media companies bear responsibility for how their products are designed. I can take responsibility for caring for myself and reject the idea that wellness needs to become another measure of productivity. I can very easily respect Lindsey Graham's military service and question the institutional decision to put his fucking name on a joint military base. Those things do not contradict or negate one another. That's fucking nuance. And gods know, nuance is not nearly as algorithm friendly as everybody screaming at one another. But maybe we could use a little bit more of it, you know? So, Witchlings, there's one thing I want you to carry out of tonight's particular adventure in What the Fuck Are We Doing? It's this. Keep asking the next question. When somebody tells you, oh, that's just how it works, ask why. When somebody hands you a standard, ask who created it. When somebody tells you you're not doing enough to take care of yourself, ask whether the thing they're asking you to do actually makes your life better. And when an institution tells you who deserves to be remembered, look around and ask, who isn't here? And give yourself permission to learn something that complicates what you originally believed. Because I started researching this story thinking, why the fuck would anybody name a military base after Lindsey Graham? Then I learned or was reminded about his military career, and I went, okay, did not know that off the top of my head, and that matters. I need to adjust my understanding. And then I ask, why the fuck would anybody name a military base after Lindsey Graham? But now it was a better fucking question, and that's important. Learning something new doesn't require you to abandon critical thinking. I mean, you're going to learn something new by thinking critically, but that's beside the point. Changing part of your opinion does not require you to change all of it. And acknowledging something worthy in someone you disagree with doesn't betray your values. Even the worst people have some redeeming qualities. Sometimes it just gives you enough information to ask the next question a little more intelligently. So keep learning, keep questioning, keep noticing who benefits. That's the big one. Keep noticing who's missing. And please, for the love of all things holy, unholy, and everything in between, please stop treating yourself like a fucking self-improvement project. Take care of yourself because you matter. Rest because you need rest. Move because movement serves you. Breathe because you're alive and would like to stay that way. And then when something doesn't add up, well, y'all know where to find me. I'll probably be right here asking, what in the cinnamon toast fuck is this? Until next time, my witchlings. Stay curious. Stay compassionate. Stay loud when loud is necessary. Keep tending to that heart fire. So, also, stay informed. Stay angry. Stay magical. I love you guys. Now let's check in. Huh? Nobody's in chat today, so. Yep. Oh, I saw MechBoy. What is it now? Yes, farming while beige is what is it now. Definitely applies here today. All right, y'all. Quick little reminder that this space does exist solely because of our Witchling community. There are no corporate sponsors, just shared magic, mutual care, and a whole lot of love. So please do the like, share, and subscribe thing. Join our channel if you have the financial means to do so, and help us grow our community by telling a friend all about us. And now, Witchlings, it's time for us to go out there and spread love, spread joy, spread kindness, because there's already enough darkness, hate, and discontent out there. Let each of us choose to be steady lights of love and joy and hope for those stumbling in the shadows. Make sure your loved ones in all their forms, 2 legs, 4 legs, wings, fur, scales, paws, and claws, know exactly how much you love them. Time is not a strict progression of cause to effect. It is far more of a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff, and it moves a lot faster than any of us realize. That means those last chances to say I love you one more time are not ever guaranteed. If you take one thing away from everything I say and do here every day, I really, really hope that you always remember this. You are loved, you are wanted, you are needed, and your purpose for existing is real and genuine, even if you don't know what it is yet. I love you guys so very much. I hope every single one of you has the most fantabulously magical rest of your day or night, wherever you are. I'll see you all later. Namaste, Witchlings.